replaced Andrew.
He praised Andrew.
Yeah, but we also had Doug here at one point.
Well, yeah, I think he's still here, but I don't know if he's coming or not.
Oh, I didn't know when his last day was.
Okay, I'm sorry. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the first Capital Improvement Committee meeting for the town of Litchfield, here, May 6, 2024, in Town Hall. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. So what I'd like to do first, welcome everybody, maybe we can go around the room. We'll start with Jay, and we'll all introduce ourselves.
Jay Mankara, NRPC, Circuit Rider.
Welcome.
Peter Plansky, School Board Rep.
Welcome. Michael Croto, Planning Board Rep.
Kimberly Queenan, Selectmen's Rep.
Marion Colby, Citizens Rep.
Kim Kleiner, Town Administrator.
All right, well, welcome everybody. Absent this evening is Brian Bork. He was a non-voting member for the Budget Committee, and Douglas Taunton, who's the school business administrator. Also absent this evening is Pete Stone. He is one of our citizens reps. He is out of town, so he will not be joining us this evening. All right. First item is public input on non-agenda items, or a public input. I'm sorry, non-agenda items. Any public input. We do have two public input sessions. I'm thinking of the planning board. I'm sorry. So I have public input. Is there any members of the public who have any public input this evening? This will be the first of our two public inputs tonight. And seeing nobody, I will close public input. We have a couple things to do this evening. Obviously, we welcome Peter Plansky, who is our newest member from the school board, and welcome. Election of officers. This is typical in the process of beginning the planning committee moving forward. Who would like to see as elected to the office of chair and vice chair. So at this time, is there any nominations for chair for the committee?
I elect Michael Croto.
Is that a motion?
I nominate Michael Croto
Okay.
for chair.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, I have a motion on the table to nominate Michael Croto as chair of the Capital Improvement Committee for the town of Litchfield for 2024. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Peter. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll take a vote. All those in favor of the motion to nominate Michael Croto as chair of the Capital Improvement Committee for the town of Litchfield, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Abstained? Aye. I will abstain, in fairness. Motion passes 3-0-1. Okay. Very good. Next item would be the election of a vice chair. Anyone want to make a motion for vice chair? I'll make a motion to nominate Peter Plansky as vice chair for the committee. I believe Mr. Cutter was the vice chair the last time we did capital improvement.
I'll second that.
So I have a motion. I have a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I think Peter Stone would be very good at it. I understand, though, we need the school board side as well. Right?
No, I
know, but I'm saying, Peter, I think...
You said Pete Stone.
No,
That's why.
I know. I'm saying Peter Stone would be good, but I think we do need school representation.
Yeah.
And I think you would be good as well. So I think
Okay.
just because he has more seniority, that's all. So, yeah, I'm okay.
Okay.
I just wanted that on the record.
All right. Anything else? Okay. We'll take a vote. All those in favor of nominating Peter Plansky as the vice chair for the Capital Improvement Committee for 2024 for the town of Litchfield, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Abstained?
I'll abstain.
Okay. Thank you. Motion passes 3-0-1. And I think that completes our nomination of officers. Do we have a secretary position, or
So I,
is there some other position?
I would just note, if that's what we're going to do, oh, can't, as chair, okay, never mind. In the bylaws, the secretary is defined, as the town has provided a professional record keeper for
Right,
recording of minutes,
that's what I
so I
recall.
don't think it's necessary.
Okay. And we have that person here tonight is Mr. Sullivan, is my understanding. So, okay. Anything else for election officers? Okay. We'll go on to letter D, which is the approval of the minutes of the November 6, 2023 meeting, which was a while ago. Did anybody have an opportunity, or have those been posted?
They're there.
We were-
They
Okay.
were- Yep.
Anybody have any questions about those?
I'll bring something up in the meeting about those later, about, the meeting minutes are fine, but as a refresher, about the water maybe being added to here, you know. We just had a holder, then we probably will do that, but it was just good to refresh after December or November, whenever these came out.
It's been a while, yeah.
We had a holding spot in case there was anything in the future. It was just a holding area, that's all. We'll probably keep it.
I think I know what you're talking about.
That's okay.
But it's not.
It doesn't
okay, it's
matter.
not right.
It doesn't
All right.
matter, we're just gonna keep
Okay.
what we have, the holding at the moment, yep.
All right. But in terms of the minutes themselves, they look good, no questions or concerns. All right, I entertain a motion to approve the minutes from November 2023.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
All right, I have a motion by Marion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Kim. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of the minutes for November 2023, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Abstained?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 3-0-1. Thank you. Okay. Letter E, well, welcome back, folks. And for the new ones who've joined this year. Yes, Capital Improvement Committee, it returns, as we promised in the spring of 2024. And I'm actually going to lead us off tonight with Mr. Minkara, could provide us with a recap. I know he provided us with a spreadsheet. Maybe you could give us a little bit of recap of what's happening.
Okay, so last year, I think we had a really robust process. We had a lot of, obviously, input from the town department heads. Several projects were requested. There were a number of changes. And there was, we've had a conversation before that we might have again around kind of what are the limits and do we want to think differently of different departments, but there's a lot of conversation around that. But overall, a number of the projects I think that we have seen in the past, such, there was a lot of talk around the new police station. So the focus this time was really on initially funding the design. We also had a lot of conversation around vehicle replacements and a real interest in getting vehicle replacements on a regular schedule, so you can see that reflected in the police department. So that's kind of the idea. Let's get things replaced and then let's keep moving forward. We had a lot of conversation also similarly around the highway department and what are the highest priority items, and a lot of conversation around the vehicles. And again, I think a lot of thought went into the overall, recommendations that were made. Same thing with the Recreation Commission. There was really a lot of discussion around what is really urgent now, what can be deferred, and so again, you see that reflected. There were some projects that were viewed as desirable. There were things that we felt could be put out sometime. The biggest conversation was around Talent Hall. Mm-hmm. And I suspect we'll probably have more conversations around that. How much does Talent Hall need to be replaced? Does it need to be upgraded? Did it make sense to go ahead and do the floor if the building is going to get? So there were a lot of that kind of conversation that went around, but ultimately the sense was, yes, it makes sense to do the floor. Libraries really had a lot of conversation around, is the limit too high? Or should we consider lumping together projects? Ultimately, the decision was made to take a lot of those smaller projects and put them together in the general category of library improvements. So don't know what we'll wind up seeing this year, but that's what was decided to do last year. For the Conservation Commission, initially the funding had been broken up into 3 years, with $1 million in each, and or I should say 2 years. I'll back up a little bit. One of the things that the committee really looked at last year closely was, once all the projects were in on the spreadsheet, what's the bottom line impact? And it was clear after kind of our first cut going through it that there were real spikes and valleys. So part of the effort was, how can we spread things out a little more? So with the Conservation Commission land purchase, as you can see, that was spread out evenly across the whole period. That helped avoid some of those peaks and valleys. Some of the other decisions that were made for where to put projects in what year were also made with that lens. Then going down to the school department, that's really also where a lot of similar conversation was had. Obviously, the big ticket item is the replacement of Griffin Memorial School. And again, I suspect we will have more conversation around the school this year. The dollar amount did increase. And of course, that's a bond payment, so that spread out pretty readily across all of our project years. But note the area that's in the box. There were, as you can see, we had these 4 smaller projects here, and those were also kind of scattered, and they contributed to those peaks and valleys for the way they were, placed, the way they were planned. And then through a lot of conversation, the concept of putting all of these together as one project and bonding them together came out. And so that's what was done. And once again, I think that was viewed as a more efficient way to fund the projects. And it spread them over the entire period. So that was, again, an area of significant conversation that we had. And then, as you could see, there are some projects that it was deemed were deferrable at this time. So this was really a very robust process, and I think the hope was that some of these themes could carry through in the future.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Jay? So what I'd like to do, and I'll start with Ms. Kleiner, and then maybe Mr. Plansky can speak for the school. On the town side, anything that, in terms of Jay, anything to add to that? Do you have anything that you'd like to add?
The town, of course, is just starting the budget process. One of the concerns that we will be bringing forth to the selectmen is the need for personnel. So we are tapped out here at Town Hall and at the Highway Department, and there is need for additional personnel. So that's going to be a topic that we'll discuss. As far as police, there is the problem of police cars. Of course, that warrant article failed, and that is going to cause a problem because we'll be even more behind than we were. There was a warrant article for the highway worker. That also failed, and that is causing significant challenges, especially with our EPA stormwater permit. So we are working with NHDES on putting together a financial analysis and a plan going forward for how much compliance with the permit will cost the town of Litchfield in the years to come. And as we've seen lately, there's catch-up to do. So that gets more costly as we speak. As far as the new police facility, they have completed that needs assessment and design. We'll be bringing forth the cost of building that station. And when we do that, the chief will speak to, there are some really specific concerns about the police force staying where they are. Regulatory concerns that we are going to have to address. The records management system is completed. If you saw our last newsletter, they switched over on that. We didn't discuss the website, but the selectmen were able to fund the website from leftover funds from 2023. So that was a huge cost that
That's the town
we were
website.
able to mitigate. So, and that should go live later this month, towards the end of the month. We still have the problem at the transfer station, and the highway garage of not only the paving, but it's now come forth, generators. So, and the energy committee, is meeting, and they are trying to put together a plan to bring forth that has all energy-related savings and projects for the town. The town meaning this building, highway, transfer station. We've been a little put back on getting that plan together now since we lost our building inspector, because he was a big portion of meeting with the contractors and doing the work for that committee. So that's put us a little behind. And truck replacements, we are in a good spot. So, we received a grant under the Clean Fleets. That was approved by the Executive Council last Wednesday. So we got notice to proceed. And then the warrant article for a new lease also passed. So highway with trucks did fairly well. Highway with people, not so much. Hard to, we'll have trucks with no people to put in them, but that's
Not good.
something we'll have to conquer. And as far as the talent hall, I think there's still significant concerns. So the $8,000 in plumbing work was completed. So all of the plumbing underneath the stage was taken out and the hot water heaters were moved over to above the bathroom. And so that work was all completed, a couple months ago, February. But there's significant work that has to be done. One of the items that challenges that they have right now is equipment in the playground. And highways trying to balance out all of the work they have plus the work that they need to do to support the Recreation Commission. So that's significant with, taking down trees, things of that sort. But Talent Hall remains a concern. And I haven't heard from the library, but I'm sure that they will put something together.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Kleiner? Okay. Thank you again. And Mr. Plansky, did you want to talk about the school?
Sure. For those who don't know, there's been a new or a larger facilities committee put together. It's got about 17 residents involved. So right now, I would say we leave the GMS stuff there as a placeholder. That committee will be charged with looking at maybe a change to the plan on GMS or some other plan. So there is going to be a sort of a needs assessment made, kind of more in-depth analysis of the structure of the building. You know, the AC is the biggest problem at the school, the HVAC system, but to do the HVAC system, you have to see if the roof can support it. And if the roof can't support it, then it's a new roof, and it becomes sort of an order of operations to do that. So for now, until that committee gets deeper into the work, I think what we have on here will probably stay again, but could change. We're willing to listen to all ideas to resolve the issues.
Okay.
And I think that impacts the LMS paving project and all that, until I think the first domino to fall needs to be the school.
Right. And I know that so the bond was sort of contingent, if my understanding, the 7 million was contingent on the voters passing the,
Correct, but we're still in line for money for next year,
okay.
even if it's a rehab or renovation.
So that's still ongoing then?
It is, actually, we'll be number 2 next year. And it could be as much as $12 million. I don't know if you saw the meeting where Kyle Barker was speaking to that. And it doesn't have, one of the things that Kyle brought forward at the meeting was what was proposed last year was built as a passive house, super energy efficient project. If we don't build it as passive house, it could save anywhere between 10 and 20% of the total cost. But he was charged with doing it as passive house. So again, all things are on the table
Okay,
as we go forward.
okay. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Plansky? Okay. All right. So we talked a little bit about what's going on with the town, what's going on with the school. Jay gave us an overview. So we're going to go and we're going to look at letter F, which is the process timeline and the form for the 2025 budget year. Kim, Ms. Kleiner, did you want to lead us off on this discussion, maybe?
So, to be honest, I put out the form to our people this afternoon and just said, heads up, we'll have a lot more information tomorrow, but I know they're anxious to get started, especially the police department. They've been working very hard since Chief Jones came to get their assessment done and plans ready. So I would say that we have an extremely, well, let me put it this way. The process between the departments and I and the Board of Selectmen has gotten better. We're allowing for some more time there. But then the process going to the Budget Committee is still before we have most of our major numbers. I would expect that healthcare will go up again. I will expect that we will probably have some increases in contracts, meaning contracts with paving, contracts with street sweeping, those type of services, those are still on the rise. So we're gonna have another tight budget year. This year, we're already feeling it, and that's going to really weigh on the departments. So, you know, while we talk about some of these big projects, we may feel the need to kind of lump some of those together, whether it be the paving for the transfer station and the highway garage and their generators, and kind of lump that all together as a project and bring it forth, but we're gonna have some real budget concerns this year.
Some thoughts working backwards if you are interested.
Well, certainly. If you want to take the
So,
other-
just kind of thinking about, you know, how we've done things for the past few years. Our goal has been to have the CIP finalized and adopted early December.
Right.
And so, this is out there, I realize, but optimal would be CIP committee finalizes and votes on, the final spreadsheet on November 4th. And that would allow it to go to a public hearing at the planning board on 11/19 and to the Board of Selectmen on 12/9. And if we can hit that 11/4 for CIP, if for any reason we're not able to pull it together, we still would actually have time for one more meeting if we needed to.
In
It
the
wouldn't be optimal, but we would, so that builds in a little bit of wiggle room.
Flexibility, yeah.
So the only challenge with that is, and I should probably share, as part of this process, the budget committee schedule. Because we have warrant articles due to the budget committee a week after that.
Okay.
So nothing's going to be, it's gonna be very hard for us. On 12/9, I have to have the warrant articles approved by the selectmen before I can bring them forth to the budget committee. And the budget committee is gonna want them a week before their meeting, so.
So would you be looking at more like November 25th or November 11th?
Yes, I'd say you'd have to have, if we are really interested in the CIP process impacting the warrant articles, you'd want it before the 1st of December.
So maybe November 11th, that would at least give us a little bit of time.
It would, but that would push us, then we would have to finalize, our goal would have to be to finalize October 7th.
Okay.
And that would mean that we could get it to the planning board on October 15th, the public hearing.
So,
Or, I mean, we could still do November 4th, but the problem would be scheduling the public hearing if we need to get it in for November 11th. If you can go to the 25th, it would still work. Is the 25th of November too late?
the,
When is Thanksgiving?
yeah,
That's, yeah,
It's the 28th.
I wanted to say it was the 20th. That's right. Yeah.
so then the selectmen could approve them that, if they approved it that night, which I would
25th,
think
yeah.
that they would. Then we'd meet again on the 9th. So between the 25th and the 9th, we would have to craft the warrant articles.
Is that enough time?
Because the warrant articles have to be submitted to the budget committee. They want them the meeting of the 19th, which means they have to be emailed by the 12th,
Okay, so is that enough time?
a week before, yeah.
Okay, so then we can still do the 4th, do the public hearing on the 19th,
Yep.
and get it to the Board of Selectmen on the 25th. So that would work.
Okay.
So, CIP, the target would be CIP approving the final version on November 4th. Planning Board public hearing on, November 19th.
Yeah.
And then Board of Selectmen approval November 25th.
Okay. Everybody
Event or anything?
makes sense.
Sorry.
Was it the vent?
No, I don't think so.
One piece ago.
Okay, that makes sense if it works.
Sorry.
About, so So did you wanna separate and just have, I mean, now using Jay's timeline, there's September and October, how often are we planning to meet? We're meeting,
Right.
right?
So when,
Yeah, I mean, I think, if I recall last year,
right,
Was
we
it-
really didn't do anything for the first few months while we were waiting for the department heads.
right. That was the big thing.
And then as I recall, we met more frequently
Oh.
August,
Yeah,
September.
as we got closer
I
to
thought-
the, yeah,
Because when we were doing the department
Right.
head interviews, we were meeting more frequently, I want to say.
yeah.
Right.
At least twice a month.
To finalize.
That at least, we were probably meeting twice a month.
I think that's true.
And considering the departments that are going to come forward, there's really no reason you couldn't get the town done in a night. In
In
one
one
meeting.
night,
Yeah,
maybe. Depends on how many are coming.
right.
Plus, I mean, you could do, library and recreation one night, you know, the
Yeah.
boards, the non-city departments, the boards, one night, and then the departments another night.
Yeah, because I think we did the town in probably 2
Yeah, I would say,
meetings last time, I
Right.
think.
yeah.
You never know what's gonna get discussion, just,
I think we gave, I think, we allowed the library the opportunity
we did.
Had to come back.
to get information, and I think that's why we were,
Vacation schedules were there and, yeah.
Right.
yeah.
And it
Yeah.
happens. We got a little slack in there, which is good.
Oh, yeah, we've got some stuff.
Yeah.
But I think we are much, town departments are much more, ready for this conversation this year than
Yeah.
last year, because we meet every month and we have leadership meetings, and this has been a topic right through
Okay, so
since
you were-
last year.
Is what happens, of course, sometimes is committee members have questions and
Right.
the department might have to go and do a little research and come back, another meeting. It's happened a few times. What's the opportunity for a used one, for example?
Right.
Right,
You know, that
yeah,
kind
we
of
needed
thing.
more information or something, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So it's good to have that built in.
sure. And do we wanna, I mean, in terms of is the goal to just kind of, sort of get everything together by October 15th?
Let's-
I know that we have it to do the final version for November 4th, but at least,
I mean, I would say we ought to try for that October 7th.
okay,
Because what happened last time, and it might or might not happen this time, but we had everything,
Yeah.
and then people looked at the result, and there was a lot of conversation about shifting things, moving things.
right,
So if we have everything
Well,
and
this was last year.
we're ready
Right.
on
Timeline.
October 4th, that gives us some time to have another meeting if we really want to think about
at least if it's
things.
an opportunity to make changes, or if we
Yeah.
have to, or move things around.
Because that definitely happened, and I know there was a lot of conversation around the priorities.
Right.
And some were changed between one meeting and another meeting, so that's optimal. So, but we could certainly do that if we're meeting, especially if we're doing 2 meetings in August, 2 meetings in September. I'm guessing that's when when we would be doubling up. We should be able to get through all the department stuff and have then time for the committee itself to deliberate.
Because yeah, okay,
Right.
yeah.
What was the date you said? October 25th? What was your date?
So the,
I think we need it.
We're November 4th.
November 4th
That's-
is the final version.
Right, but when did you want ours?
But I think
Preliminary.
like October,
Yeah, I mean, I think if we were able to get October 7th, we have all the projects, everybody's been interviewed and spoken to. That's the real opportunity for the committee to look at everything at once, see what it looks like on the spreadsheet.
So, when would they be due?
We're gonna,
So, Like, that's up to you guys, obviously, but I think we asked for them due at some point in July last year.
Thought it was the end of July.
Yeah,
It's in the
Yeah.
portal here.
It corresponded,
What
right?
date, Kim?
It was July 17th last year,
Okay.
was the draft submissions were due.
Um,
And then August 7th, we had questions, we could go back.
Yeah,
And
because
answer.
that's, if we have it in July, then in August, we can, in September, we can do,
Start the
The department,
presentation,
prior year,
yeah.
Right.
Now, what about the school? Obviously, Doug's not here, but are you gonna have,
Did you see that?
so I think we're talking about the town process, but in
Oh,
terms
I
of the
put it
school
on the
process,
portal.
because I think what we're gonna do is, we're
See?
gonna have the
I
town
know what I'm
present
thinking.
and then maybe do the school. So, what's your thought on that? Maybe it's too early, but I
I have a little digging to do, but I think July would be early to have a decision on what's gonna happen, if anything, with the GMS project.
okay.
That would be pretty tight, I think, to get something back.
What about other than the GMS
I think
project?
the other stuff, we can probably deal with, but as I said before, I think some of that is
Okay,
GMS dependent.
okay.
But our budget stuff doesn't really start until November, getting our information ready for the budget committee.
Okay.
Until, I think our first meeting's November 7th, if I'm reading the calendar correctly. So we would be maybe a little bit behind. But we can work towards having something ready for July.
Okay.
Remember, Doug is leaving. July
Yes, yeah,
1st.
well, that's true.
Doug's leaving too?
Right, so, yeah,
Oh,
Doug's moving on to
where's Doug
another
going?
position, so we're gonna have a new
You're gonna have a new person.
BA and a new superintendent.
Okay,
So
Yeah.
there's a lot happening there, so.
right.
so is it fair to ask, is the thinking that with this larger committee, there wouldn't be a plan to put forward a warrant article for this coming year?
I think it depends on what the committee comes forward with. I'm gonna guess, and I don't know this, I would guess there's gonna be a couple of options presented to the school board. And then a decision by the school board on how to move. But I think it's a tight window. That committee does meet every other Wednesday. So there's a meeting this coming Wednesday. But we haven't done the, sort of the analysis of the structure of GMS, and what that's gonna entail yet, so.
When do you think you would get it to the
You know,
school board?
I was hoping it was gonna be this week, but I haven't heard, that it's scheduled at this point.
Okay.
It's a tough thing to nail down.
Right.
And it might be left in flux at the end of the year and mature, but they are collecting impact fees, right? The school is at this point, right? So at least the money is some money's being saved,
Yeah.
Somebody, yes.
right?
And there's always the fallback of a
Impact fees are
placeholder,
being
if
collected for
that's
the
where we're.
schools.
Where we're at.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
that's
yeah,
good, at least the money's
exactly.
being collected based off of, you know,
The old plan and now the
yeah,
new plan.
the old plan.
I mean, most of the plans were approved. But, yeah.
But I guess the question, would is this gonna be good for the, I guess, the school board in terms of the scheduling? And,
You know, I will take it to the board. We have a meeting Wednesday,
okay,
this Wednesday?
probably, yeah, cause
It's gonna be.
planning board is Tuesday, so you're usually the next day.
And I'll bring the schedule forward, so ideally you would like to have our sort of proposal for what's gonna happen, big stuff with the school for July,
If possible.
if possible.
Yeah, maybe get an idea of, what the timeframes are.
And certainly the other things too.
Because it sounds like the town is pretty much, I mean, you've had having meetings, and so I think it's gonna be a little bit more easier to move it along. So,
The GMS thing is the big variable.
oh, obviously,
I mean,
right.
There's stuff on here that's definitely gonna continue to be on here, the purchase of the solar array, sort of putting that money set aside, so when that balloon payment comes, they take care of that. The regular capital improvements and maintenance stuff, I think.
Okay.
And maybe even some of the stuff at LMS may stay, again, depending on where the facilities committee is looking.
Okay.
And there might be new things.
Right, and there could be another.
There could be, certainly.
So for my own understanding, I don't, the tail's wagging the dog here, and they have to come up with a number, but you don't wanna lock them into that if it really isn't true, right?
course.
So maybe it's an estimate this year based on the best information you have, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, is that true? I mean, I know we need to produce a budget, but I mean, you can't it's fluctuating. This is a big project.
Yeah.
This
It
is
is.
not, you're gonna be done by July, really? No, I don't, you
I
know.
think that's a little
It
bit.
can't, because we want you to do it right and have the time.
Yeah.
Well, and I think
At
because
least
there's
money's
so many
being
people
collected.
involved in the community, who are participating.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really good ideas and sort of good back and forth, and it's, I think everybody wants to do what's best for the town and best for the kids, that we can afford to,
Right.
that we can afford as a town.
Okay.
And I know there's big ticket items coming from the town too, so
Right.
we'll have competing priorities.
So you're saying basically can put a placeholder for this so that they can,
Well, whatever best estimate they come up with, we have to put here.
Right.
Knowing it's probably gonna change the next year, because you're getting more information, right? And then
That's right.
decisions are being made at a
Right.
higher level where you can go down a certain path.
And the other question will be, what's the year?
Yeah, it's not like a contract where we lock them in. You said
No,
it was
it's
gonna
not.
be. I just wanna make sure that,
Right. And we always
Aware of
know it's
that.
dependent on the voters, so.
yeah. But at least they're getting money now is the point. It's being collected for you, yeah.
If we could go a little later in July, so just a little bit off topic, but definitely germane to this conversation is 2025 is a reval year. Everyone should keep that in mind, right? You don't go, the general rule is you don't go high on your budget in a reval year. It's not the time to do it. The other thing is, if, for those of you that may not know, we are in action with Pennachuck Water at the PUC. So Pennachuck has filed a rate case, a new rate case that is attached to a merger of Pennachuck East, Pennachuck Corp. In Pittsfield. And so Bedford, Litchfield, and Londonderry have all filed motions. So we are working through that, but that is a process, and we may not have any information on how that will impact the Litchfield residents until August, September timeframe. So
This is a court case, Kim?
this is a PUC.
it's a
case.
PU case, PUC
PUC
case.
case.
So, I mean, we could certainly, could we push it to August until we know what the outcome is gonna be? Or will we know in August what of that case, or is it still gonna?
We are trying to get information to the Board of Selectmen in late July.
Okay,
We could certainly push it till late July if we want to.
yeah,
And there's other departments that are,
Right.
wouldn't be affected presumably, so.
yeah,
But whatever date you think makes sense in July, we can push it to.
Okay. So the board will meet. July.
So our first meeting in August would be the
August
5th.
and the 22nd. What if we made them, do the 29th of July? And that gives me
Yep.
a week after that second board meeting in July.
That works.
yeah, that's fine.
But if that case drags out, then you'll have that information at least, right?
And that's a
Yeah,
week
but we
before the
still
CIP
have
meeting,
to
so
make
that would work.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
That was the holder I was talking about.
I know,
Yeah.
just don't know.
Add that
We
to
don't
my
know.
calendar, I guess, placeholder anyway.
Idea.
Wasn't there some sort of discussions about Litchfield purchasing water from another source or something? Is that still ongoing? Is that still being researched or?
So I think research is a good word.
Okay. All right. Good.
It's one of the categories of
Leave
the
it
CIP.
alone. Research.
So, this is all public information. The only way to, obtain the infrastructure, and to do a process similar to what Hudson did many years ago is by eminent domain. It's the only way. Whether we wanted to propose something like that, or whether we wanna wait and see what a merger of Pennachuck does, for the Litchfield residents. I mean, the idea is that Pennachuck East customers go down, Pennachuck Corp customers go up. Will that happen? We don't know. They're working through data right now, Pennachuck. So, you know, I think you have to weigh all of the different factors. And then there would be many public meetings, including a special town meeting if you were to go the eminent domain rate course, right? So that requires a lot of steps and a very professional assessment by an expert utility appraiser. There's a lot going on, but a lot of unanswers at this moment.
Gotcha. Okay.
An eminent domain means the infrastructure, not taking somebody's property, kind of, right?
Right.
That scares people hearing eminent domain.
Yeah, it's,
course it does.
very similar, but, you know, I think there's a lot to those cases. And so you would definitely wanna have an expert in that area.
Okay. Okay. Everybody good on the timeline then? And obviously, Peter, you can talk to the school board and find out from them what works with them, I guess. And-
Will do.
Okay. Well, thank you. The next item is bylaw review. We have some bylaws for the capital improvement committee that were put together last year, I believe. And did anybody have an opportunity to take a look at those? Have any questions, concerns? Okay.
I just wanna make sure she's all right. They look good.
Sorry, yeah.
No, that's okay. Okay.
I did like seeing the word again, urgent was the priority, right? Rereading those bylaws, right?
Yep.
It's urgent. Do we want to bring up what we were discussing about voting or not voting?
I think we're clear
Are
on
we okay? Did we get,
now. I
did you hear back from the lawyer on that?
We did, yes, so,
Dating me on that?
both the school board and the selectmen are ex officio voting members. Here and, you
On the planning board.
You on the planning board, selectmen on the planning board. And that is fine, that's, you know, per statute, there's no problems there. It gets a little different if you were to think zoning board. That's not recommended for the zoning board, and it's not recommended for the building, board of appeals.
So the bylaws had said I was a voting member, but we weren't sure if we were weighing in twice, you know, same with the school. So other towns don't do this. We just sit here and we're non-voting. So I was waiting to see how that flew before we vote on this, because it says I'm a voting member here, and so is the school.
Right.
So,
There's lots of variations out there.
Sure.
Some have a lot more residents on them. And some have just a totally different board. We've seen department heads and it's strange.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but you're fine?
okay,
Everything's fine?
thank you for checking. I wasn't sure what I'd be doing.
I think it's just budget committee doesn't
Other
vote.
than,
I think that's the
You
only
know,
one.
discussion.
That's by their choice.
Yes, it's their choice.
Yeah, that's by their choice.
Okay.
It's funny, the budget committee member on the facilities committee is not gonna vote either. They don't wanna vote, which I found out.
Well, the budget committee, I think, has the position that because they are sort of the checks and balances, they shouldn't be voting on the, you know, the issues for school or town. Obviously, because that would create I guess, an issue with conflict of interest and all that. So, which I get, I understand what the rationale is, so,
And that's been consistent. They've
Yeah.
felt that way all.
yeah. So So pretty much that's
Thank you.
their rule. Okay. So I guess I would entertain a motion, if nobody has any questions about the bylaws, I guess we could entertain a motion in updating them, to approve them as they, so written for 2024.
Let me just, I did read them.
Okay.
Did it say, it said explicitly the chair, the vice chair, and the secretary, which,
Right.
taking the meetings, right?
Yeah.
So that's all explicit.
Mhm.
And then who could vote and who could not vote, right? So it's, so. The only thing it said was I could not be the chair, which that's fine. I wouldn't
yeah.
want that anyway. I have enough to go on it. And you have the best for that, so. That was the only conflict it mentioned not to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't, do you want to have a chance to do a
okay.
deeper dive?
Because I
or-
read them when we did.
I
Yeah,
guess,
we did
yeah,
them
the
last
question, I mean,
year.
Peter, I know that you're new to the board, I mean, did you want to have an opportunity to digest the
I
bylaws
haven't
first? or-
read through the bylaws, so I was like, I would either have to
We can
abstain or
table it,
take
absolutely.
it.
Okay, all right, so what we'll do is we'll table it, give everybody an opportunity to just review quickly, and then we'll vote at the next meeting, okay? All right. All right, public input. We have another public input this evening for the Capital Improvement Committee. Any members of the public wish to provide a public input? And seeing nobody, I will close public input at this time. Is there any other business this evening to come before this committee? Anybody have any questions or concerns? Okay.
I just have one question. If we
Yeah.
could go before the bylaws, there was an attachment. Is that what, that's what you're passing out to the department heads to fill out?
That is the form
Okay,
that
just wanna make sure I'm
Jay
up to speed.
provided me, so that you could look at it. I don't,
I like them. I
look
did
to
see
Jay
that.
if there were any changes.
No changes, it's the project request form.
We saw that.
It's nice and clean, looks
Mm-hmm.
good.
That was the same.
And so last year, for the town, we put it on our net portal. And so the town department heads were able to go out, had a little overview of when it was due and all that. And then, of course, as they came in, I uploaded them to your portal. And we're probably going to use that process, again. There's going to be, and I guess a topic that you could discuss is, there will be another page on the new town website for the Capital Improvement Committee. So it'll list the members, it'll have a link to the portal for the public portion of what the public can see. Any important deadlines. So if you have items that you would like to see, please think it over and let us know. The town staff is in training the 14th, the 15th, and the 16th. The only people that will have access to update the website is employees with a Litchfield NH.gov access. So Joan will be doing I'll be doing capital improvement. Joan will be doing planning and conservation. Rec is kind of a work in process. We're moving them over from their old website, so we'll be using Joan for a lot of that. But each commission will have a member of the staff that is assigned to update their page. So that's just something to keep in the back of your mind on what have you always wanted to see on it. And it can be anything. Civic Plus is wonderful to work with.
All right. And obviously, we're looking forward to the new website coming out live, and obviously there'll be training for that.
When is that gonna go live, Kim?
So it's due to go live May 30th. We have the training, and then we have some consulting hours to but I don't see any reason why it won't go live. Live does not mean complete,
Right.
It's a work in progress, always.
but, yeah, it's, the difference between night and day from where we are, and we'll have an emergency notification system. With that, we'll have different ways for, residents to sign up and create accounts and choose the items that they would like to receive, whether it's notification on budget meetings or notification on selectmen meetings, and, all of our agendas and minutes, and will all be in one place.
Having gone through that a couple years ago, though, it's a lot of work for staff. It's a really,
It's been a long process.
yeah.
Long road.
You did a great job. And you made it ADA and everything, and the same with this one, yeah.
That's great.
And now, since they just passed that law, you only have 2 years to bring your website ADA compliant before the federals come down. So we chose a perfect time to do
Now,
this.
yes.
It has to be done.
Yep.
So, and the search is phenomenal, so that was
Cool.
important.
Great.
That's great. Okay. Anything else from anybody? Do we want to schedule the next meeting? When would you folks like to come back for our next meeting?
It's the first Monday of the month, right?
Unless you say differently.
Well,
I gotta know.
we can,
I spent an hour and 45 minutes updating my calendar.
Well, I got a notice saying that we had a meeting on June 3rd today. Nothing about tonight's meeting, but, because I
That's
wrote to Kim
odd.
about it. You
Yeah, I
saw
think I
it
saw
though,
one the
right?
other day, too.
Yeah,
yeah,
I think I saw one the other day
Yeah,
as well. that the
but I
meeting for
won't be
June
able
was
to be
scheduled.
here on June 3rd,
okay,
okay.
so I'm sorry,
that's all right.
or June 10th,
So,
but for June 17th.
I guess what works for everybody, I mean, we certainly can
so
do
there is a meeting out there,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we can certainly move
schedule
it.
or move
I've
it,
got June 3rd on my calendar.
yeah.
Everybody's got the first Monday, then that's it.
If we wanted to move it, I could do the 17th, but I couldn't do the 10th. But I think that's gonna be, everybody's gonna be in that kind of position, I'm guessing.
Could we do the 17th?
Is that, you're talking about June 17th? What day is that?
It's Monday,
Yeah.
It's a Monday.
I don't know, I might have.
I could do
Board of
that.
Selectmen, hold on.
No, well, not here. There's, we
Yeah.
could,
We have selectmen?
it's, ZBA.
CBA,
Oh,
Was ZBA.
so it'd have to be in the
Oh,
fire
fire
station.
station.
June 17th, got it. Yeah, I can do that.
up to you guys.
And not the 10th, because that's
So-
the board of selectmen.
So what are we doing? Are we doing the 3rd and 17th, or just the 3rd?
No, I think I think it'd be moving the 3rd to the 17th.
Right,
Okay.
because Mary's.
There's a
not
school
gonna be
board
here.
meeting on
Oh,
the
so-
17th.
Oh,
Okay.
well, that's right.
That won't
June
work.
We
3rd,
have
and I
two
just
from
won't
the
be able to
school
be
here, so.
And my calendar says there's a facilities improvement committee meeting at the same time in the same place.
On a Monday?
Well, because the school board only meets twice a month, first and third, and then
Yeah.
it gets
Right.
hairy.
So we might have to
I
stick to
thought you
the,
meant on Wednesdays, Peter.
might have to just stick with
I
the
thought the
3rd.
school board was Wednesdays.
They do. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in July.
The 17th is a Monday of June.
Yep, I see it. My bad,
So-
sorry.
Okay. So we still good
School
with
board
this?
yes or school board no?
No,
School board's not meeting on the 17th.
Okay.
Okay, so
So
we can do the
17th works.
17th. Would that
June
work for everybody?
17th? All right,
Everybody
let me-
good?
I will confirm the
Yes,
fire station for that evening and email everyone.
Thank you.
perfect.
And we're
All right,
canceling
so
the
that's
3rd,
temporary.
right?
Yes,
That
thank
event
you.
only.
Okay. And anything else?
I think so.
Okay. Well, I think we've concluded our business for this evening. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mr. Polanski has entertained a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll
second.
Oh, Marion.
Second by Marion.
Yeah.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, abstained, motion passes 400. Well, thank you for joining us this evening for our first Capital Improvement Committee meeting and of many meetings to come. So we look forward
Stay
to
tuned.
see you on June 17th. Have a good night.